The story of the Conservative Holiness Movement begins in the nature of God Himself. He's a holy God, and He's always desired His people to be holy in both heart and life. And so there's a theme of holiness running through all of history, both Old and New Testaments, throughout the church ages, right to the modern day. And so the Conservative Holiness Movement stands in a tradition of holiness that is founded in God Himself, and tries to take the principle and doctrine of holiness and apply it to modern life. The modern story of the Conservative Holiness Movement starts with John Wesley, an Anglican minister in the 1700s who became very concerned with the worldliness and shallowness of the church of his day. In his attempts to reform the church, he kind of accidentally founded the Methodist Church. The Methodist Church had two focuses in its early existence. It strongly taught the doctrine that a holy heart is to be expressed in a holy life. And it also was very active working among the poor and the downtrodden. It spread throughout Britain among the lower classes. All this was happening about the time of America's founding, as a new world was being settled. And so Methodism crossed the ocean and landed in New York City, and from there, circuit riders took Methodism in a message of heart purity and spread it across the New World. It became very widespread and popular, especially in the West, in the frontiers, and in the South. About 100 or 150 years later, in the late 1800s, the Methodist Church had become very urban, much more upper class, politically and socially connected and influential. But at the same time as all these changes were happening, they'd also lost a lot of emphasis on personal piety, on personal holiness, and had really slacked off with a lot of the social work of helping the needy and the poor around them. And so the conservative elements in the Methodist Church pulled out to become the holiness churches. These retained or regained the emphasis on the doctrine of holiness and holiness of life and heart, and also continued much of the social work that the early Methodist Church had been known for. We speed forward another 50 or 60 years, and we land in the mid-1900s. And there were deep and sweeping changes in American society and culture. And many in the holiness churches felt the church was too accepting, too willing to embrace these changes without really looking at them and examining them biblically. Out of the holiness churches then came the conservative holiness churches, many different denominations and independent churches, a large variety of views and backgrounds, some of which did not even come from the Methodist Church. But it's a movement. There's no formal structure, there's no centralized leadership. The Interchurch Holiness Convention is a sort of umbrella organization, but not any formalized leadership. It's a widespread movement. It's across America. It's also around the world in outreaches and in churches and in missions. But it's sort of a grassroots movement. What ties the Conservative Holiness Movement together is a dedication to the doctrine that your heart can be purified, and that therefore your life should express the complete consecration to God in very practical and down-to-earth ways. So join me as we explore today's Conservative Holiness Movement.